What's a sign someone has been through a lot? Story 1. They don't ask for help because people have let them down a lot. When you get let down enough, why bother anymore? People show their true colors when things happen. They usually offer help to make themselves feel good, but when it comes down to actually giving help, they don't get that good feeling anymore, so they tap out. Even the people that you know would help many times never do. Watch out for those who explain to you, "No, I'm serious, if you need anything, let me know." The one guy I knew would help didn't. Mom was murdered in her bed, so I was cleaning it out for a few weeks. He knew how hard it was, and he kept saying he would help no matter what. An hour before, he said he forgot that a Nebraska game was on and needed to cancel. I'm cold to others who offer help since I know it's just a way for them to feel good without doing anything. Now, the opposite is true when someone actually does help. One guy I know just showed up to help and helped 2 weekends in a row and wouldn't accept any money for helping. He's now the beneficiary of my investment accounts but doesn't know it. If anything were to happen to me, he's going to have a comfortable life. Screw the rest of the people I know. I mean, my mom would help, but she'd punish me as well. "I'll help you clean the spill, you just have to sit there while I remind you that you only spilled it because you don't love me and are a psycho just like your cheating dad." At some point I just did it myself, badly, because I was a fucking child, and instead of teaching me to clean, I was made to suffer for spilling. I learned that to love was to be invisible, to place no weight on the people around you, and to demand as little as possible. It's to the point where being asked for a favor hurts, like I'm being told I'm unlovable because I learned that it's the same. Girlfriend will go, "Can you fetch me the soda?" And my brain will go, "Wow, she really doesn't give a fuck about you, huh?" All my relatives are loaded. They had no problem getting out of their Bentleys when watching me get off a Geo Metro with no air conditioning drenched in sweat. My dad warned me to stay away from them and never take a job with them, as it would ruin my life. As I grew older, I saw how rotten their life is. I feel sorry for them. At this point, we don't really talk to each other anymore, but it makes me wonder if that happened because they see me as being beneath them, or if it's the other way around. I have tried to reach out to them many times, though. Thankfully, I never really cared. I'm glad they didn't give me a leg up. I guess I also noticed that those who had a leg up from a friend or a relative grew very dependent on that relative, and their luck was purely out of connections, and not so much out of merit. That never really settled well with me. Story 2. In social situations, they never ask people about their family, mostly because they don't want people asking them about theirs. That's a new one my wife pointed out to me. Oh, that's interesting. I usually don't ask people about their family in case it might be a negative topic for them. I don't mind being asked about mine, but I seem to automatically assume that family is a potentially negative, triggering, and sensitive topic, rather than small talk, so I tread with caution. I remember while in high school, my girlfriend's family came down for graduation and were staying there for the week. She found it so odd that I was uncomfortable after just 5 minutes of sitting in the same room with all of them. I had to explain to her that I'd never been around my extended family, and the only time I was around my parents really was at dinner. That's if they hadn't been fighting and sent us to our rooms until later that night when we could rush out and grab leftovers. Other than that, we were forced to either stay outside or in our bedrooms, especially when they had company over. I have a doo-doo immediate family, and we did not have a great childhood because of that mostly. I don't ask people about their families unless I know the people we're talking about. Not really because I care if anyone knows about my situation or family. I think it just doesn't occur to me because I don't really have any immediate friends that I have a good relationship with that is still around. So it's just not something on my mind. I do a lot of volunteering and fostering for animals, so I ask about people's pets, lol. But that's interesting because I didn't really notice that before. Good to know for future reference because it's not that I don't care or don't want to talk about my own, so now it will hopefully occur to me to ask. I personally tend to overshare and not really hold much back though, so I can definitely understand someone being that way. I'm also to the point I'm completely separated from my crappy family, so I think that helps. If I were still dealing with their bullshit all the time, I probably would actively try not to bring them up. I was in the Navy when I realized that maybe more than half of my peers had negative family experiences. Had never occurred to me before because where I was from, the family was overwhelmingly positive. I had an almost fictional childhood with a family that was by any standard nearly ideal. Provided for the best of possibilities, nice home, great neighborhood, the best schools, but long before I had to venture out into the harsh world, experienced by most, I was made aware. Educated in matters of dignity and pride, respect for all, and understanding at an early age that the blessings I'd been gifted with were rare in this world. Rarer still was Dad's understanding of people and how to make a difference, when and where it counts. Every year, he'd take me with him as he took big hams, giant turkeys, bags of groceries, and a fistful of cash. Little did I know my dad was Santa Claus, not the fat guy in the red suit. Well, the red suit at least. Not the white beard, not the sleigh, not the 8 reindeer, but in a very real way, the spirit of Christmas is embodied. He was well aware of how fortunate he had been, equally so, of the glaring need in our harsh world. He was aware of the difference he could make, and not only did it, but ensured my understanding and participation in directing action inspired by gratitude and understanding of the unique combination of individuals and circumstances that blessed him, and therefore me. The knowledge that most people in this world may never know peace, happiness, and love with family is a harsh reality, so like Dad did, I try to do what I am able, where I can make a difference. Story 3. They have the ability to turn to stone at the snap of a finger. Any past emotions are just gone. It's such a useful ability for when shit hits the proverbial fan. Family too stressed out to take action, the wife is crying, the sister is just pacing around, and everyone in that sort of 1,000-yard stare. Just a sharp inhale away from shutting myself down and being the robot Mom and Dad always accused me of being, but that fucking robot figures it the hell out. This 100%. But that fucking robot figures it the fuck out. I have spent a long time, my whole life, thinking I'm broken and trying to catch up with normal folks. It has taken all these years to come around to being fucking proud of my survival. I shouldn't have to go through that, but I did. I'm still here, thriving. I can work on continuing to improve and having pride in those same tools that got that little girl here. I remember being about 10 when my father threw my siblings and me out of the car with our mom because he was fighting with her. Just a bunch of crying, screaming kids and a crying, screaming woman at the side of the road with no idea where we were. I just looked at them screaming and crying, and it was like something clicked into place and I just stopped. It was all gone. I felt nothing. I told my sister to pick up my littlest sibling and my mom to pick up the middle one and said, "Let's walk until there's a gas station. And then we'll call the police and they'll take us home." My sister would wander off, and they would sometimes find her and bring her home, so it made sense. They just did it. My father did end up coming back for us. That switch is still in there, ready to empty out the feelings and focus. I've needed it many times. I blame my ADHD for this. It's the same thing in emergency situations, unrelated to emotion, like a car accident or something. My brain is in such a constant state of activity. When shit hits the fan, suddenly it's like I've taken a limitless pill. It works better than my meds do. Just blissful, logical, efficient focus. When it comes to emotionally charged stressors, I can just flip a switch to the logical brain and hang up the emotional side of things until they eventually just kind of snap back into place after things have calmed down externally. There are certain things that if someone does them, it says so much about that person that I will never give them a second chance. For me, it involves exploitation of any kind, whether it's taking advantage of a drunk man or woman at a bar, or paying someone peanuts because they are in a vulnerable position. I do not tolerate people who exploit other vulnerable people because that's a person whom you can never trust and has too little empathy to be of any worth in my circle of trusted people. Also, apologies don't mean shit. If you apologize and it's less coherent than what a 6-year-old can muster up, or if it's filled with any "I don't know why I did it," or any other excuses that barely scratch the surface of the offense committed, then I know you're an emotional grifter and manipulator, never used to being held accountable, so I'm out. Story 4. Stubbornly independent because they don't believe they can rely on anyone. This is me. I recently moved and made a friend who genuinely likes to help people. I rebuffed his many offers until I was talking to my therapist about it. He said to me, "You know the feeling you get when you help others?" Of course I did. He said, "Why would you want to keep that from someone else?" Hit me like a brick. This one hits home. I've got some issues, but when shit really hits the fan and it gets down to brass tacks, something swaps and I'm just calm, super irrational, and able to quickly problem solve. I kinda wish I was that person all the time because everything else is overwhelming. When a sibling was diagnosed with GBS, I was somehow able to keep the family calm and collected. Once the major things were taken care of, I, more or less, shut down for a bit. It's exhausting. That's just an example. And I'm late to the post, but it's nice to put that out there. Sorry, I edited this a lot. I wanted my point to get across in case someone who feels the same can feel a little warmer. Story 5. They are empathetic, kind, and generous because they get it. I am not a generous person at all, but if someone I even kind of know is ever hungry, I have almost a need to send them food money. I have gone hungry and know what it feels like. Now seeing someone hungry is almost panic-inducing. It's not even a feeling of, aw, I don't want you to suffer like I did, so much as it's a feeling of, this problem needs to be solved immediately. I need to fix this now. This is why we need more therapists with actual experience, real-life experience, not just a piece of paper. What's worse is that most of these people have criminal records that hinder their ability to get hired in the first place. Even if it's just a charge, people will immediately deny them. Trust me, I've wanted to start a firm or a practice for many years, and it just became unrealistic, so I just started talking to people, asking them how they're doing, start conversations about anything with anyone. It helps, especially if you have a sense of humor. I'd say the biggest issue with that is that it's hard to pay the bills, but the relationships I've made are worth it. I really hope it's worth it for them too. They are not afraid to accept help because they get it, and they give it in return. I guess this is for people who had some degree of healing. I know I did. I learned to accept help from others and now I offer it all the time. I am extremely generous. I have way more money than I ever imagined and actively find ways to help others who are less fortunate. I think I am okay with doing that. I don't think people I help ever feel like they owe me or anything else, anything. I think I am okay with doing that. I don't think the people I help ever feel like they owe me or anyone else anything. I hope I am passing on that gratitude. I was helped, so I understand how to help others. I would not change the shit I have been through for anything because I am just such a better person for it. Story 6. They don't trust people and aren't surprised by weird things that people do in public. Yep, as far as I'm concerned, everyone is lying and can't be trusted as far as you could throw them. Person taking a shit in public at a bus stop, passed out, dead, homeless, druggie, laying in bushes, that's just Wednesday. Source, been through a lot of shit. I had that happen the other day in my neighborhood in New York City where I was walking near the Museum of Natural History and I saw a guy lying passed on the sidewalk in the distance. My first thought was, oh, another drugged out homeless dude, I wonder if he's alive. But as I got closer, I realized it was an old man and he was kind of coming, but very out of it. Another guy also saw him and came to his aid, and we both helped him get on his feet. He had obviously hit his head, and while I wouldn't normally help someone up so quickly, he was trying to get up on his own and didn't want him to hurt himself by falling again. As I lifted him, I checked the back of his head, and sure enough, it was bleeding quite a bit. I tried calling 911, but he insisted he was fine and his wife was nearby at his apartment and he'd call her. I felt bad leaving him early, but I had to get to the doctor, and he seemed kind of okay beyond the blood. I worried about concussion, of course, but encouraged him to get checked. Apparently he had just passed out while walking, so he must have hit really hard. Poor dude. I feel like it's not people per se, but the universe itself is uncaring. Not uncaring, and it was supposed to be, but like literally doesn't even know you exist. I know people are complex emotional beings that appear in my life, stay a while, and then maybe vanish. Nobody owes me anything, and within 2 generations it will be like I was never here at all. Never knew my great-grandparents and know zero about them. I don't know any stories, likes, events, dislikes, trials, tribulations, heroic acts, or anything. Poof. And so it will be with me. I found an uncaring universe to be freeing, personally. I was persecuted a lot as a kid. My parents were self-involved and selfish. I was told, you think this is bad, wait until adulthood. The world is out to get you. The world is not out to get me. The real world cares nothing about me. People can be out to get you. However, most are self-absorbed and have short attention spans. I am a kind person and found the type of people who fuck me over will meet a terrible end, and not because I get revenge or anything cheesy. All I have to do is step aside and be patient. Those people are on a path that will lead to ruin. I have known good people to die, bad people to get away with doing bad things, but that's part of the universe. I find trust to be only as far as your shield can handle the impact. Oh, you may promise to never fuck me over, but then you might not be the one who makes that decision, and I stopped taking it personally after a while. Just enjoy what you have when you have it, and move on. Story 7. Keeping themselves distant from everyone. Not opening up. Just to add to this, I will say I am fairly well qualified having had 2 immediate family members die. I would love to talk about it, but every time somebody has got this out of me, it's been a complete conversation killer. It's one thing to have a simple heart-to-heart with a friend about some of your problems, but when you drop a nuclear bomb like that on somebody who obviously will never have the words to help, it just makes the whole experience a catch-22. You can't navigate it. You either leave your friends wondering why you're so closed, or you completely kill a nice moment and risk receiving the unwanted sympathies when that piece of sensitive gossip inevitably spreads. It just sucks. To add to this, purposefully pushing people away. When I was 12, I had 3 grandparents die within the space of a month. To add to this, I'm an only child and had no immediate family members that could relate as much. Since then, I've always kept away from people because sometimes I can be too much. I've literally never had solid friendships that have lasted more than 5 years because I've never really wanted anyone to get too close. Luckily, I've got a great partner who gives me the space I need when I need it, but we check in every now and again when I'm in one of these phases. Story 8. They tend to keep a lot of information about themselves locked up for fear of it being used against them. I used to keep myself locked up as well, and took more than 2 years in uni to open up to a good friend of mine. It was one of the biggest mistakes, and the only thing keeping me mentally fine-ish is that I didn't share more than what I did. But never again. Nope. I don't mean that everyone is like that, but whenever I open up, shit hits the fan, ruining a day where I felt genuinely good after a long time. All that because I didn't pick up the damn phone for a day. Imagine it was 2 days. Whoa. It's not necessarily a fear. Some people just don't think it's important. Spend enough time around people who make it clear they don't care about you, and you start to learn there's no point in telling them something they don't care about. I guess you can tell the difference by asking someone about themselves. If they've never volunteered information about themselves but instantly without hesitation answer your question, well, is it weird that I throw everything out there immediately to see if people will use it against me? Like, you have all the artillery, now show me what kind of a person you are and either use it or don't. I'm pretty numb to people betraying my trust and just kind of expect it at this point, but I'd rather figure it out quickly instead of wasting time investing in a useless relationship. Story 9. People are pleased, apologizing too much, internalized blame, not being fazed by terrible things and finding very little to be really shocking. A good listener, lack of boundaries, a loner, quiet, avoids people and crowds, avoids drama, doesn't really care about gossip, small talk, or the mundane stuff, doesn't have much to do with family. Sometimes I wish I didn't know these things. Yep, me in a nutshell, as I sit in a mental health facility for the 3rd time to stop me hurting myself. Combat-related PTSD is a bitch, and it will take you down. Look after yourselves, people. The earlier you deal with it, the easier it is. Maybe you are a strong person and it won't affect you, like I thought I was. Or maybe you're not. Don't take the risk. Talk to someone. Well, at least there are other people that understand, which kind of sucks because it means they know through experience. Regular people, I don't think can fully understand. You just get things like, why are you so quiet? Why are you so weird? It's also kind of crazy how much upbringing affects your entire life. Why am I so screwed up decades after I've left the bad upbringing situation? Why do I get nervous asking people simple questions? Am I fundamentally broken? Should I just accept the reality that I will never be able to make a phone call without being nervous? Is it better to just shut out the world? What happens when I just need to get through the day turns into I just need to get through the next hour? Will there be peace in giving up, or will things always be the same? Probably always be the same. The world changes and I stay the same. I'm eternally wondering whether I'm unconsciously faking these symptoms because I feel like not enough as a person compared to those around me, or if I'm really suffering through some upbringing trauma I hadn't considered existed. I'm so damn young compared to you all. All I suffered through was a relatively possessive household, not a fight, a familial split. I've never even had a relationship to break up, yet I find myself with symptoms similar to the ones you and the higher commenter put up. Then that little hell I had at home really was enough to count as trauma for me? This is kinda enlightening but also disorienting at the same time. I've gotta write it down in the diary. Thank you for inadvertently helping me out on this by writing this comment. Damn dude, extremely relatable. Something really bad happens and everyone around you is crying but you just don't feel it. And then you think to yourself, am I heartless? No, I care a lot, I do. Another one is always staying out of the way of everyone in the room, compulsively shuffling to the right wall when someone's moving at all. You were always yelled at to get out of the way, so it's second nature now in all social settings. Kinda sucks. I just recently realized this about myself, word for word, after being unable to explain it to me for years. I'm so happy yet sad that so many people feel this way. To know it's not just me. The problem is, when I look at my childhood and teenage years, sure there were some bad experiences, but that helps you grow, right? I show every single one of these things, but can't find a cause for it. Since you've managed to put into words what I never could you possibly delve a bit deeper? What is this a response to? Or what could be the main cause for this, so that I can work on it? This shit made me lose almost everything I held dear to me, and I'm in rough seas at the moment, so I'm trying to fix this so I can grow from it. Story 10. Extreme self-awareness is often present, empathy and effort to understand as well. Can confirm, daughter of a narcissist with BPD. I give myself thorough performance reviews anytime I do something wrong. Sat on the wrong side of the dinner table. Didn't speak up when I had the chance about something, and made a joke that didn't land at a family gathering. I understand that normal people don't stress over everything like that, but I can't help it. I'm always on the hunt for ways I can do better and be better. Story 11. Zero tolerance for drama, bullshit, and toxic behavior. They're more likely to just walk away from friendships and relationships at the first sign. I am an island in the drama sea. It flows around me. It does not change me. In an emergency, I'm the person people call. I had seen almost everything by the time I was 18. Nothing that's happened to you will shock me or upset me. I wade into the drama sea and pull people out of it onto my island. People are stupid. Once the drama gets dried off, they jump back in. I will never understand it. I think perhaps I just have had so much drama that I am full. I don't want any more. I think that's why we cut people off. They keep insisting on bringing an element back into my life that I reject. So if you do that enough, I reject you because you are toxic. It's just that people who have been through great trauma have a much lower threshold for the amount of toxicity we will allow in. Your toxicity is not special. Your toxic is the same old toxic as every other toxic. You dressed it up and put a wig on it, but it's the same toxic. Everybody thinks their trauma is special. You don't understand. Growing up, I thought Santa was an a-hole. I understand better than you'll probably ever know. Story 12. How fast they can flip the switch and not put up with your shit anymore. My abandonment issues are so strong that throughout dating I have this impressive ability to detach from a conflict. Ready to walk away at a given time. In my head, I'd picture packing up a camping trip, wrapping up the tent, and physically walking away within seconds. It's a long story, but 30 years ago I moved from Christianity and crossed over to Buddhism. One of the first things one learns as a young Buddhist is the sense of dukkha, or suffering. Everyone suffers. Me too. A spiritual requirement of a Buddhist is to attempt to alleviate suffering. So what I do is help who I can, where I can, in any way possible, without any expectations of being repaid, expressions of gratitude, or even acknowledging that the help even occurred. Okay, so now on to the true story. I had a housemate who needed to go to court-ordered counseling once a week, 50 miles away, but no transportation is available. So I did some searching about what Uber would cost, then cut that in half to $50 round trip. He took me up on that, but the whole process took at least 4 hours out of the day. After 5 months of I gotcha, I cut him off. He missed a few meetings but was able to avoid going back in violation. The old saying goes, when you lose, and you will lose, don't lose the lesson. Plus, don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Story 13. Incredibly self-aware, very open about some experiences, making jokes about trauma. Enough about me, how are you doing? This is so me. One of the reasons I talk so openly about my issues is because I've been told time and time again, you don't seem like a person who has issues like that. Bipolar. Because it helps the stigma. I'm relatively successful, and I think that's what surprises them too. Ever just retell some fucked up shit you went through? Like you were talking about what you had for lunch and then the person's reaction to what you said was the only reason you even wondered if it was more fucked up than you thought? So she stabbed me a few times, but what really annoyed me was that the dryer was taking forever. Story 14. Always check that you're okay, so they know they haven't done anything wrong or upset you somehow. That was me for a very long time. It's soul-crushing and kicks off many panic attacks. It's taken me a very long time to work through it, but did. It's absolutely a trauma response, living in a household with violence. Violence that stems from a young person's belief that they are the source of the problems, completely distorts a person's concept of fault. To survive, we search for the microaggressions in our surroundings, but we think indicate a person's disappointment with something we've done. This kind of childhood devastates a person's ability to accurately navigate social situations as an adult. When someone sees our confusion that we've tried so hard to hide, to say we feel vulnerable doesn't do it justice. We feel broken, seen and judged to be another, a mentally unwell person. Horrible. Story 15. The eyes are a pretty good indicator. Been through stuff eyes seems to be a thing. I had a VP who worked for the company I work for now. He and I could get along pretty easily on a lot of things, and he helped me a lot. I was homeless and suicidal for many years before I started working there, and on rare occasions he would drop the professional act, and when he was really happy, he'd laugh a lot and hand out hugs like candy. But when it came to deep conversations about struggles, he'd become very silent, and he'd listen intensely, and he had this soft sadness in his eyes. I could tell every single thing I told him. He could understand with a depth I didn't think another person could possess. He was eventually forced to resign from his position, and he was paid a lot of money for it. I think when it came to the world of business and a cutthroat kind of industry, he hit a ceiling and couldn't break through because he wasn't willing to exploit others to do it. I had heard some stories about his son being a real troublemaker and his son serving some real hard time in prison, but his father remained stalwart and kind and thoughtful always. I sent him a long email about how heartbroken I was to hear he was forced to resign, and he sent me a heartfelt and encouraging text message days later that I still have to this day. One of the last things I asked him before he left was, "So what will you be doing now?" He looked at me with his soft eyes and said, "I think I'll do some painting." He was one of the kindest, most genuine men I've met, who carries a weight only he can carry, but a weight that others who carry a weight can empathize with. Story 16. Can't take a compliment because to them that's the start of manipulation. Also don't like gifts because they come with strings usually and they aren't prepared to have something else come back at them because they accepted the gifts. Also likely fiercely independent, although you get the ones that go the other way and are too scared to do anything alone. For me, I typically don't like gifts because rarely did I get one that I genuinely liked. I know that sounds bratty, but what I mean is most of the time, gifts I received felt like things other people wanted me to like or were given out of obligation, for my birthday or for some other occasion. They rarely ever felt like they were for me, and I would be forced to feign gratitude and excitement because it's impolite otherwise. This just made me uncomfortable with gifts altogether, and I dread any occasion where I'll be expected to open them in front of others. Story 17. They don't like their birthdays celebrated. Oh, this one is so on point. I used to love my birthdays when I was younger up until I was 18. After my dad died shortly after, every birthday was overshadowed by some tragic event or something that was more important. That repeated for such a long time that A, I started to dislike my birthday because I connected it to something bad happening, and B, the stuff happening was so traumatizing that my brain had to suppress that time period, which unfortunately included the being actively aware of aging. I missed 5 years in total through this. It's been a few years now and I'm working on improving my age dimorphism. I used to get heavy anxiety and panic attacks whenever someone asked me my age, and it wouldn't match up with the one I had in mind. It's much better now, but still not fantastic. Story 18. I grew up in what is, by definition, a death cult. Even after all these years, I still feel silly and dramatic saying that. I have seen evil and what it does to people. Those I considered friends and family, I have felt firsthand the effects of said evil. Evil is not usually flagrant. It's insidious and imitates normality. It either breaks you or makes you a barely functional person, a recluse who cannot handle the norms of life, socializing, health, employment, etc. Or you come out the other side having learned to channel suffering into empathy. You develop a discerning eye for spotting pain, depression, and anxiety in others. This empathy pushes you to grow as a person and better yourself and others around you. Story 19. Being simultaneously detached and empathetic. They don't want to hear the weight of connections gone awry or introduce that potential chaos into their life, since it has burnt them in the past, but they still care and want what's best for people. If I see that the light has gone out of someone's eyes, but they still try and do well by those around them, that puts them on the track to earn my respect. I empathize a great deal with the downtrodden. It's rough out there. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you want to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.